musician, songwriter, producer, general creative person. Thanks for your time today, Nick. Really appreciate you taking some time out to do this. I know you're seen locally solo, Blue Note, places like that, also with your band Hot Plastic, punk pop, I guess. I kind of describe them as that. I love that. And also I know you're involved in creating your own events too. Do you want to just kick off by letting us know what you're involved in at the moment?
Cool, yeah. Trying to keep myself busy. I do music full time, so I literally try and do a little bit of the private sector thing and do a little bit of corporate work. I'm trying to keep myself challenged by doing some jazzy stuff for Blue Notes, so keeping my skills sharp there. And then sort of my main priority is the rock band and trying to make some waves over in the UK and get that all started up.
I saw a Facebook post which had about, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10 dates in the UK.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it was great. We literally just did it old school, booked everything ourselves, went over on our own dime, had a little bit of help from the Groove Collective, which was great. But, we just went and did it because literally there's no difference to there and here. It's just a couple miles and a long ass boat ride,
That's right. And I know, like a lot of bands, we have a Facebook page, and Instagram seems to be where the fun is at the minute, and Twitter, the rest of it. So I know you can reach out and connect with people with Facebook, and I guess you have a Facebook page.
Yeah, all that stuff. I personally think that stuff is kind of losing a bit of traction. It seems everybody's a bit saturated with that kind of thing. And I mean, that's cool if your band's kind of old school. You can take it back to the roots and do the poster thing and the flyer runs and
that's it. Into that a little
cool.
bit. And tell me about your solo. I know Bruno, it's labelled as jazz with Nick and solo. And were you playing jazz standards, or is it a little twist on?
Yeah, I just kind of keep it laid back. I always try, especially when I'm doing stuff for the public, in terms of it's not totally self-indulgent. I really try and just mold to whatever the atmosphere wants. So I do try and keep things laid back. A lot of standards, a lot of old stuff that I enjoy, that I know the public will enjoy as well.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I'll do some stuff down at Kismet Cabana and I'll keep it kind of beachy and laid back. Other times I'll be at the Trafalgar doing that, and that'll just be rock and roll straight up.
Different crowd, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's just kind of accommodating.
Absolutely. I think the key to a successful band, is being able to interpret an audience. I'm going to dig into my sort of 10 questions that I asked. Let's do it. Okay, so which sort of band or artist connected with you? Really connected with you and wanted you to play an instrument? What was that first thing that really connected?
Taking it way back. I mean, I started really getting into it. Like, my dad always had a guitar lying around the house, and he'd always play like some classical stuff or some old school bluesy stuff. And I really sort of found an interest when Nirvana came around. And I was probably about 14 at the time, so like a little aggressive teenager. So into my skateboarding and listening to Nirvana and the Smashing Pumpkins and the Cranberries. So a lot of grunge was definitely.
So mid to late mid 90s, early 90s, sort of 90s era. I think it's kind of like the 80s has had its retro revival. Maybe the 90s are coming back now. Yeah. Almost answered this next question. Was your biggest influence?
Yeah. I definitely say like. I'm finding myself more drawn to the sounds of the Smashing Pumpkins, just because there's the edge of the grunge, but there's also a delicate side to what they did as well. So the songwriting's amazing, the instrumentation, the orchestration, the production. So there's a depth there that I don't necessarily find with a lot of the other bands. A lot of them are just like, this is what we are, which is great because you also need that. Yes. But then there's other dimensions of exploring.
Have you seen any of those guys live? What's your the best gig you've been to?
As
an audience, man.
Yeah, I've actually never seen any of my heroes live, unfortunately, as much as that sucks. But I'd say I'll give you a couple things. The best live gig I ever saw was I went to go and watch a guy called Gregory Alan Issakoff over in Brighton. Okay. And he played to a room of probably like 200 people, and I got to be like, third from the front and just experience the whole thing. And he's like a folky kind of guy from the States. Yep. And I mean, it's like you're almost sitting in a barn with them while they jam, which is amazing.
When you get those intimate gigs like that, and they're just on fire.
Yeah, I would take an intimate gig over a stadium any day, And then in terms of the best sort of live gig I ever did was...
Next question. Best gig you've played.
But I'd say I used to be in a band called Desmond and the Tutus, which was just sweat and dancing and rock and roll.
Is this tutus as in ballet or as in the...
however you want to interpret it, yeah. It's all good. But we played one night in Cape Town. It was the middle of summer, and we were, I was probably like 23 at the time,
Right.
and I think our drummer was 17. So we were like really youngsters, and we just went in there. Because like, if you're coming from Pretoria, which is, it's a big city in South Africa, but in terms of like the music scene, it's kind of like the dark horse.
Okay.
And we went to Cape Town, which is like, the super slick city, very like touristy.
Urban,
Yeah, super urban. And we played this crummy little venue, and we had zero expectations, but the kids just came out, and there was like, there was condensation dripping off the walls, and it was just a raucous party. So like that was a definite top 5. Yeah,
standout gig, excellent. Maybe someone will have some pictures from that somewhere. I don't know. Maybe it exists online.
It did, yeah.
Next question is: who are you listening to currently? Is it still Nirvana? Is it still back to those original artists?
I have multiple playlists these days. I try to just take a little bit of everything in, so I've got like jazz playlists, and I've got because I love folk music as well, so I have Amos Lee and Gregory Alan Issakoff and those kind of guys in the playlist, and then I've got Chet Baker and Miles Davis and Coltrane in the playlist, and then I've got like a full-on rock playlist who's got like Arcade Fire, Broken Social Scene, so I just try and consume as much music as possible.
You know what, someone made a great analogy to me once, and that like listening to music is like blotting paper, right? And eventually all these they all connect.
Yeah,
and they all become this.
You find the crossovers for yourself.
There's so many, and you just interpret it, and it becomes something else, and you just go off. I mean, what does your live rig consist of? Do you have a favourite piece of equipment, or is that something that you always use live?
So this is an amp that I actually built.
Very cool.
Yeah,
looks like a Marshall.
Yeah, somebody left a little Marshall practice amp at my house, and I gutted it.
Love it.
And I put some valves in it.
Oh, mate, I love the homebrewed look of that. That's great.
And it's super rock and roll, and it sounds crazy vintage.
Was it about 15 watts or something?
The amp itself is 20, but the speaker can only handle 15.
Oh, I love it.
But yeah, it's a beast.
Oh, that's something else.
Yeah, I mean, like that's just such a little pleasure taking that to gigs, knowing like I can carry it firstly because it doesn't weigh an absolute ton, and then just like plugging it in, knowing that it works, and knowing how everything inside it works, and like all the little magic to the valves and stuff. So
I love that.
Yeah, very cool.
Super cool. That's super. I mean, do you use like when you're playing a solo? Do you have like pedals? Do you have? Or
I try and stay minimal, just because I don't like. You know how it is. The more stuff's going on, the more stuff can go wrong.
Absolutely, very relate to that.
So yeah, I try and keep it quite minimal. I will stick to one overdrive pedal. I have recently been adding a second pedal just to give me a bit more boost for when I do lead sections, because I noticed sometimes the lead will just kind of fade away. So I need something to just push that a tad.
That lift, understand?
I have so many guitars, but they're all favourites.
You might be able to see in the background. There's a little Spinal Tap moment we could mention there, but let's not. Excellent stuff. Now, when you're gigging out with the band, do you have any strange pre-gig rituals? Do you wear the favourite lucky sneakers or anything like that?
I think for me personally, I really try and get my mind in the right space, because I think when you're in a band, you've already come to the realization that is the special moment, is actually getting on stage with those people and creating a moment. I mean, it's like you're playing a self-indulgent music because you created it.
Yeah.
It's purely from you, and you're doing it purely for your pleasure, you know? So it's like just taking that in every time I go on stage to perform, and especially with a band, not letting that become some kind of thing, like a jobby thing or anything. It's just purely like you're getting on stage with the guys, or the guy and girl, and we're gonna have a blast, and that's it.
And I think where you notice that is if you have a gig cancelled last minute, you've been putting yourself in this mindset, and you're like, there's something huge missing from my weekend here. That's when you realise how much you kind of build yourself up, or it kind of generates that kind of mindset. So no strange pre-gig rituals. We don't have the blue M&Ms taken or anything weird like that.
I try and keep my guitar in good working condition.
Bring a tune in. Oh god, excellent stuff. No, I love it. I've had some strange answers to that question, which you'll see in other videos. So look out for those. Okay, best piece of advice you've been given is a hard one.
Wow, I mean, there's a few, especially like if you want to make music your ambition, it's just love the actual craft, and don't think about the outcomes. It's just love the nitty gritty, like love packing your car, love taking the ride, love going on the long trip, love sleeping on the floor, you know. And if you can enjoy those things, everything else is going to be just icing on the cake, you know.
Oh, I love that. That's one of my favourite quotes so far. I love that. And here you go. Here's the other question. What's the best bit of advice you would give?
Yeah, I mean, persistence is key, you know. So if you don't feel you're good enough, practice more. If you don't, if you're not up to scratch, then, you know, get somebody to give you some tips, and yeah, just keep at it. You know, it's that old thing of like you find seasoned players, and they're never the ones who boast about how good they are, because they know there's so much still to conquer. And it's just that, it's like once you've climbed a little hill with music and you look over it, you're just like, oh my soul, there's so much to learn. And it's beautiful, you know. That just makes you so humble, and you can really just appreciate all of that craft that goes along with it.
That's fantastic. Nic, I've got to say a massive thank you for your
Pleasure,
time
man.
today.
Yeah,
I really
thank you.
enjoyed that, and look out for the next one, and see you soon.
Oh yeah, we got some singles coming up with Hot Plastic, and our bass player Lisa is dropping her first sort of fronted song, so that's happening in October. So yeah, it's good stuff coming up.
I'm excited about that. Thanks so much, Nic. See you soon. Thanks a lot.
Cool.
Yeah, a little bit of the old and so got to check out the Tiger. It's badass.
Does it go up to 11?